bad.
Oh, look. Honestly, I still have to ask him every time
We're going to get started. So, first, to give some opening remarks, we would like to welcome from USG, Undergraduate School for Government, DEI Advocacy Coordinator, Ellen.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight as we welcome the incredible Stephen Lim. My name is Helen Yang, and I'm a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coordinator for the Undergraduate Student Government, who is a proud collaborator of this event, along with the Asian American Cultural Center, WHUS Radio, and UCTV. In honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we united to highlight and celebrate these underrepresented voices in the media. We also wanted to celebrate the safe spaces, communities, and resources that we have at UConn, such as the Asian American Cultural Center, which provides resources to enhance the university's diversity commitment through its recruitment and retention efforts, teaching, service, and outreach to the Asian American community on campus and beyond, as well as the Pan-Asian Council, who promotes awareness through social, cultural, and interpersonal activities by allowing for community involvement, personal development, and networking between diverse student groups from the Asian American community, and finally, the plethora of diverse and inclusive cultural organizations on campus. With that being said, I'm so humbled and honored to be able to welcome Stephen Lim, the co-founder of Watcher Entertainment, as well as the creator and host of BuzzFeed's hit series Worth It, where they try one dish at 3 drastically different price points. As an Asian American, I rarely saw people who looked like me on TV, in movies, and especially not on the new frontier of the internet. But the ones who broke through these barriers meant everything to me, and certainly to many of you. Stephen Lim was one of the champions of Asian Americans in the media, whose energetic, funny, and charismatic personality captured our hearts and showed us that there are different paths and equations for success and fulfillment. We will begin tonight's event by introducing our moderators and, of course, Stephen Lim. And next, our speakers will give a presentation before our moderated Q&A. Finally, we will have our closing remarks. Before we begin, I will read a land acknowledgement provided by the Native American and Indigenous Students Association. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the territory of the Mohican, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Pocusset, Nipmuc, and Lenape peoples who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We thank them for their strength and resilience in protecting this land and aspire to uphold our responsibilities according to their example. And now I'll pass it back to Sarah and Kazi. Thank you all, and I hope everyone enjoys this wonderful event.
WHUS Radio. And without further ado, Stephen Lim, everybody.
Please welcome Stephen Lim.
Wow. Does this work? Is this working now? Is it on now?
Oh, it's on.
Is it good? Are we there? Are we live?
I think so.
Can you hear me?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Wow. Okay. Hi, I saw somebody. Hi. This is so cool. First of all, how do I start this? This is so interesting because there's like a whole production going on as well, and it's the first time I've done this while being recorded, so I'm like nervous for the first time. I've been doing school things, speaking events for like 10 years now, so this is the first time for me as well. I kind of have like high school recital vibes too in this room. You know, like I feel like I should be playing my clarinet or my piano right now. But no, I'm honestly so honored and glad to be here. Thank you for bringing me out. I have a little bit of things I want to talk about here, and then we'll go into some questions, so save the questions for the end. But for the few of you who may not know who I am, my name is Stephen Lim. That's a picture of me when I was 5. And if we go, oh yeah, I guess you could leave the stage. Yeah.
We're going to be back.
You were in my comfort zone, and then now that is gone.
I still love you.
Love you too. If you go to the next slide, me and my 2 friends have this show called Work It. Have you guys heard of it? That's comforting. That is a comforting slide. And that show, if you're not familiar with me or that show, it's where I go around the world and I get to try 3 foods at 3 drastically different price points and find out which one is the most worth it at its price. And I've been doing this for 10 seasons now, 7 years over at the old BuzzFeed, and we actually aired the very last episode of the whole show 1.5 weeks ago. I know. So this is you caught me in like a very interesting time in my life where I'm vulnerable. I'm in the state. I think I'm still in the stage of denial right now because even in the episode, somebody sent me a clip. I haven't seen it yet, and there's a clip where I talk about. It's weird to quote myself, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Where I say like I don't want to eat the last bite of food because it means the meal is over. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I haven't watched the last season yet because in my head it's not over yet. So I'm still in that weird denial, vulnerable space right now. So you can attack me with those questions later. But anyway, that's who I am. And some more background, if you wanted to Google me, you could find that I have been doing this for 10 years. This show has garnered billions of views, and I'll get more into that later. But today, I have a very... Should I sit down or stand up, by the way? I don't know what I should be doing here.
Whatever's most comfortable.
What's comfortable? Okay, can I stand? Well, sitting when they were here, but now I'm like, okay, I want to be mobile. Okay, so I'm here today to speak to you about things that you cannot Google about me. Because I think that's where you get the juicy stuff, right? Stuff that you're not going to find in the tabloids or the internet or whatever, Twitter these days. And so part of that story, though, is really defined by my desire to create media for representation of Asian Americans. I see a lot of those faces in this crowd today, and I'm so glad to see that. It's beautiful people. I mean, if you're not Asian as well, you're also beautiful. We're all beautiful here. But I wanted to represent my people, and that was important for me. And I'm glad that you guys at the school can throw an event where you can celebrate that. And so I'll share a little bit about my story, how I got here, some of the hardships, and also the fun times getting here. So if we could go to the next little slide here. This is me. Nice. That is one of the best reactions I've gotten from this photo. Most of the time it's laughter. Thank you for the cheers. This is me in 2003. This is going to be pretty interactive. Who here was alive in 2003? Yeah. Okay, that's good. I don't feel too old yet. Who was not alive in 2003? Okay, still more than I thought, actually. And I grew up, and I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in Ohio. It's the Midwest, and it's anybody here from Ohio? We didn't make it out here to Connecticut. That's all right. And my upbringing, I was actually I was the only Asian kid in my class, in my grade. I'm just curious, because as diversity has increased the last few years, has that been true for anybody at anybody's point of life? I'm just curious. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about, where like you look around and you're just the only person who looks like you. In the whole school, the only other person was my brother. So it was two Asian kids at this school in Cincinnati, Ohio. And at the time, I actually took pride in that. I took pride in knowing that I got to represent being Asian, and in fact, so much so that people nicknamed me, it wasn't very creative, but it was that Asian kid. It wasn't very specific either, because if you really look at a map, there's like 2-3 billion Asian people in the world. But in my school, I was the Asian kid. And until, of course, if you go to the next slide, somebody moved to my class. And this is my friend Ian. And in 7th grade, we increased our Asian student population by 100%. That's right. Ian joined. And I'm not gonna lie, like an only child, I was very jealous when the new kid came along. Because he was from China, and so I was born in Ohio, and he was truly an Asian kid. Like he was born and raised in China, came over here, didn't know any English, and like it was remarkable actually to meet him. And I was jealous because he became the other. Actually, I became the other Asian kid, and he became the preeminent Asian kid. And it was actually so bad. If you go to the next slide, it was so bad. Go to the next slide, just a little side-by-side comparison of the two of us, the two kids in school that were Asian. And so much of this I realize now as an adult, but I didn't back then. But that jealousy in me, I couldn't figure out where it came from. I couldn't understand why I felt that way. But there were times when I was growing up and people would mistake me for him. And it was so bad where even my guidance counselor actually used to call me Ian, which was pretty sad. But I look back at that time now and I think about it and I realize that I was jealous and that all of these feelings that I couldn't explain came from the fact that I did not feel represented anywhere. Not in my life, not in media, not at the grocery store, nowhere. And so when somebody came and threatened my identity of being Asian, or being the only Asian kid, it was a struggle. It was a struggle for me. I'm gonna go to this next slide here. Do you guys recognize any of these people here? Go to the next slide here. Do you guys recognize these people? Yeah. Some of them? Okay, wait, so, Superwoman? Yeah. Okay. Wongfu Productions? Okay. AJ Raphael? Some people, okay. Do you guys know Kev Jumba? Yeah. Okay. I'm surprised by that, actually. I feel like he's more my generation than yours. Millennial generation than Gen Z. That's great. We have Happy Slip. Does anyone know Happy Slip? This is a deep cut. All right, we got one in the back. And Community Channel. Anybody know Community Channel? Yeah, okay. She was my favorite, actually, growing up. And it was remarkable back in 2004, 2005, when you guys were, how are you watching YouTube as like 2-year-olds? Maybe, I guess stuff's on the internet forever. Okay, you can see it later. But literally, these people were the very first time I felt like I was seen on Earth. I'm not kidding. because they were like teenagers, 19, 18-year-olds, just being goofy kids, being much more than just being an Asian kid. For them, they were funny, they were musicians, they were talented, they were great, at writing scripts, doing comedy, all these things that were just so much deeper than the surface level. They made me proud to be who I was, and that was kind of the beginning of my own story of becoming a YouTuber. But before that, I was an engineer. I graduated with a chemical engineering degree here. Anybody an engineer here? Okay, a few. Anybody a chemical engineer? Why? You see, I don't know. I saw another hand. Was there another hand here? Why? I did it because back in 2008, chemical engineering was actually the highest paid engineer you could be. And also, so my dad, he's an engineer. My older brother, he became an engineer. My younger sister even became an engineer. So I just felt like it was my destiny to do that. And I asked the question why, not to disparage the degree in any regards, because I myself also am a chemical engineer, as proven by my diploma. But because didn't really have a passion for it. And actually my first job out of college, if you go to the next slide here, my first job out of college, I got to work on a product called, and go next here, Tide Pods. I know, I've been working on food since the very beginning. Tide Pods. I got to work on the chemistry of laundry detergent. I worked at Procter & Gamble, if you're familiar with that company. And my very first week there, I will never, ever forget this moment. It's burned in my brain. It was my very first week, and we had a big gathering of our whole department. There was 100 people. And they had prepared a cake for one of the people there. His name was Bill. And they said, "Congratulations, Bill. You made it to 25 years at Procter & Gamble." And he comes to the stage, more like the front of the room, and he says, "I am so proud to have spent the last 25 years of my life working on soap." And he meant it. He really, truly meant it. And all I could think to do was freak out. That's so Raven moment. Is that a show that you guys? Yeah. Okay. So you see the future, and you're like, oh my God, that's gonna be me in 25 years. I literally could picture myself giving that same speech, but I couldn't because I don't care about soap. I'm sorry to Bill, and I'm sorry to if you end up working at Procter & Gamble later in life. I'm sure you'll love it. But you know what that moment actually taught me? Not that soap is boring, which I find it very boring, but that I wanted to find a job that I loved as much as this man loves soap. He taught me how to love his job. And so that is when I decided, oh my God, I just spent my first 21 years of my life becoming an engineer. I got a hard pivot to something else. And so I spent the next year of my life trying all types of different things, all types of new things. And one thing resonated as the thing I loved doing the most, and that was making YouTube videos. Now, I do want to share a very vulnerable moment of my life, and it's through the form of video. So go to the next slide here. Have you guys ever heard of this show before? It's called Internet Icon. Not the man right here. This is right here. There's this show called Internet Icon, and I entered it. And the show, this was in 2012, was a show like, think about American Idol, but for YouTubers. So you submit a video, you get reviewed by a panel of celebrities who also are like famous YouTubers. They you get to the top 100, you move on, the top one wins a grand prize, and then a boost to their YouTube channel. I entered this competition. Now, I'm sharing this with you because I want it to I don't know why I'm sharing it with you. It's embarrassing. And actually, like I said, I've been doing talks like this for 10 years now. And this specific video, I refuse to like see the light of day for the first 7 years of me doing these things. So I honestly you know, we all have those cringe clips of ourselves. We all do it. We all have that. And this is mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this video play, and we'll go from there. I think it'll work. If not, I can reenact it. Oh yeah, some more context for it. So Ryan Higa is the guy who created the show. Well, they figured out the video logistics. He created the show. I got chosen to the top 100, so I flew up to LA on my own dime, and then I got to show this video to the panel of judges. So this is that moment. This is that moment. We can come back to it too. I would like to know if I should come back to this photo later or. Sorry, I know this is social media YouTube videos on a presentation.
Go back to it.
All right, we'll come back to it. Okay. So, I don't want to share the moral of the story here quite yet, because that would ruin watching the video. But I do want to say that when I started making YouTube videos, I was very bad. And I'm sure you've all experienced this where you try something new and you're just like the worst at it. And I think it's important to know that, I don't want to spoil the video, but it's important to know that it takes a lot of time to get to a position where you feel proud of the work that you do. And like, for example, for me, being able to stand in front of you and do this talk and get this broadcast, it's very special for me, but it took a lot of hard work and dedication and time. From 2012 to 2015, I was making YouTube videos, not making a dime off of it. And when I quit my job at P&G, actually, if you could just give me a signal when it's ready. Oh, 1 second. Okay, so give me the 1 second look. I don't know, okay. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Okay. We can all see this together, right? Okay, I see a hand. Okay. One quick story I'll share while they set this up, and you can interrupt my story. So when I was working at P&G and I wanted to quit my job, I actually remember calling my mom and telling her, I want to quit my job. And, okay. Once we get sound on this too, we'll be good to go. Maybe I can control the sound. Do I have power here? I don't think I do. I usher with video? Well, that's a lighting scene. This is a presentation. This is not. Okay, so while they figure out the sound on that, I was at Procter & Gamble for a year, and I remember the week I was going to quit my job, my boss actually called me into the room and said, hey, Steven, you know, you've been doing a great job. I want to give you this pay raise. And my salary at the time my starting salary at Procter & Gamble was $70,000. Not bad, right? Really good, actually. And with inflation, right now it's probably like $1 million. A banana costs like $5 and eggs cost like $10. And he was going to give me an additional $20,000 on top of what I was making already. And I called my mom and I told her, I was like, hey mom, I think I want to quit, but I just found out that the money's about to get really good, and there's a promise for more money. And she's like, oh, how much is it? And I was like, oh, there's numbers. She's like, oh, what's you know, like, my parents are immigrant parents, came to this country with literally nothing, and to hear that I would be making that kind of money was astounding to them. is why they wanted me to become an engineer. And I told her, like, what do you think I should do? And I'll never forget what she said to me, because it like blew my mind. She said, Steven, the job is great, but you should do what you love. And I know, I was so surprised, because my whole life, my parents were like, become an engineer. So I was like really confused at the mixed signals here. But I think they had realized that I just didn't care about my job, and they wanted me to be happy. And so yeah, the week after that, I remember going back to my boss and saying, hey, appreciate the money, but I think I'm gonna have to pass. I think I'm gonna have to not do it, which was a big mistake. So if you ever get into content creation, I don't recommend this route. I recommend doing it as a hobby because it's more fun and it's less stressful. There were definitely moments of, I think for 3 years, I was making videos, and I actually, I was working night shifts at restaurants to pay the bills, and then during the day I'd be making YouTube videos. And it I don't know, you guys see like how much TikTokers and YouTubers are making. When you're starting out, it's literally nothing. It's hard to even get to the point where YouTube starts to pay you. And I actually never got to that point making YouTube videos. Should I go ahead and assume that this video is not gonna? We got a thumbs up. Let's play it. Why did it say motion played? I don't like that about this video. You never subscribe. I'll tell you. Alright, okay, it gets sad after that. Yeah, this is my American Idol audition. It's so funny looking back at that now, and it's something that I tried to bury. I tried to forget that this ever happened, honestly, but now that I've gotten to the point where I can laugh at it, it's actually very heartwarming for me to watch this video, to know that what I went through to kind of get to where I am, it was never guaranteed. And if anybody here is interested in becoming, a content creator, YouTuber, it is definitely a rough road. It's definitely a rough road. But for me, actually, I was sharing it. For 3 years, I made videos. It was very difficult. And the thing that kept me going, though, was one, how much I loved making YouTube videos. Two, my desire Asian parents react to I love you, I started this trend on YouTube where you would call our parents, say I love you to them, and then record their reaction. And if you want to go and watch, it's on my channel right now. You can watch it after this talk. Make sure you click on those ads that I paid for. Still get checks in the mail for this video. It's great. But this actually, if you're like confused on why this would do well, by the way, it's because there are some Asian families where people literally never say I love you to each other. And it's not that there isn't love within the family, but I know for certain cultures and languages, it's not normal. And for example, even there's one person in this video who was saying that I love you in their language is more a romantic thing, and that's why you don't say it to your kids. And so it was very strange for her to say it to her dad for the very first time. And her dad literally responded by saying, are you okay? And yeah, this video, so when I made this video, I had no idea it was going to blow up, but it actually got picked up on Reddit, on BuzzFeed, a few different publications, and I thought it was going to be my big break when it came out. I got 500,000 views, I was blowing up, this is the beginning. I worked 3 years for this, and unfortunately, after that, and you're probably more familiar with it now, with the internet, but things fizzle fast, and it was hard to build an audience off of one video. But fortunately for me, actually, a little company called BuzzFeed saw this video, and one of their producers actually reached out to me and said, hey Steven, would you like to work for BuzzFeed? And I said, who are you? I didn't say those words exactly, but I said, I'm good. I actually turned them down at first. Here we am. It was a stupid choice, but I didn't know who they were. In the email that they sent to me, I wish I still have it actually, the guy who emailed me didn't use any grammar or punctuation or capital letters, and so I thought it was spam. He also spelled my name wrong. He spelled Stephen Kim, not Stephen Kim. I know, what's going on? And so I just said, hey, thanks for the offer, but I'm good. And then all my friends saw this, I told them, they're like, hey, I got this spam email from BuzzFeed. They're like, what are you doing? Like, take the job. And so after another few months of realizing that I had no future as an independent YouTuber, I emailed them back and I said, hey, can I come work for you for a few weeks? And this is kind of where I feel like the course of my life changed in a way that I did not expect. And I think it's very normal for this to happen to all of us, where you'll get a job or a gig or a situation that will change everything and it'll be the best job you ever wanted, but you didn't even realize you wanted it. And that's what BuzzFeed was for me. Because I got to enter an environment where there were hundreds of creative people loving making content, making videos, all working together and growing and making mistakes and figuring it out. And if you followed BuzzFeed back in that era, it was messy. There's videos out there where people drank their own pee. I thank God said no to that video. There's videos, but then there's also beautiful videos where there's incredible things that came out of that time period as well. And those things include stuff like the Try Guys and all the Ladylike videos and all the things that was built at BuzzFeed wouldn't have been done if not organically through that environment. Now, for me, getting to BuzzFeed and showing up on camera was a very interesting experience because reading the comment section, which they tell you not to read the comments, felt like I was in middle school again. And what I mean by that, if you go to the next slide, is when I appeared in the video for the very first time, and to be fair, I guess I don't introduce myself in the video, but by referencing me, they just said that Asian guy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I literally feel like Ohio, 5th grade, people calling me that Asian guy. Now, what happens when you have two Asian guys in the video? So next slide. This is my friend Ryan. I don't know if you have good applause, good applause. Less than the applause from me, which is great, but good enough where I feel confident he's a good person. But the two of us are Asian. He's two Asian guys in the same video. Next slide. You get comments like this. Holy crap. Those two Asian guys are people. And it's like, it's crazy, right? Like to think like, but yeah, you guys know, like, you guys are on the internet. Like, people are stupid on the internet. They say things, and this is a safe space for them to say whatever they want to say behind the name, UK my name's Swag. And I'd get these comments, next slide, I get comments like, are Ryan and Steven twins? Haha, so funny. I mean, it's kind of funny, but not really. Next slide. I always get Steven and Ryan confused. Anna, you have no excuse, okay? Sorry. I don't give this person a pass, okay? And I realized the more and more of these comments I was getting, the more I realized, again, back to middle school, how important representation is in not only the media, but in the classroom, at the grocery store, everywhere. Because just by showing up and being there, you start to allow people to change their perceptions of who you are, of your culture, of your background. You get to share your own story. And I guess for Anna, she got to learn that me and Ryan are different people, which is nice. And at some point, by just showing up in videos over and over and over again, for me, I started to get more positive comments. Comments like this: I wish I was as brave as Steven. And getting those is really, I think, the point where I felt very fully satisfied that I got to do my job. I wasn't drinking tea or anything, but I was getting to try new things. I did a K-pop transformation. I did got to try different foods with different people. Okay, now this is where this talk gets a little juicy, and this is where I get a little nervous. This is a broadcast, and usually these aren't broadcasted, but I can share this story because it happened, and because I want to encourage you, specifically people of color in this room who experience subtle things that push you behind. Okay, where am I going with this? I also must caveat this with, I have nothing against BuzzFeed. No. For real. I have nothing against BuzzFeed. In fact, they gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. And the individuals named in this story are not a reflection of the company at large. Okay, that's all my legal disclaimers to the camera that I'm where the camera is. Okay. So, worth it. This beautiful show, which is probably why most of you have heard of me. I had this idea for a show, and I had been stewing on it for years. I think I came of it when I first got to BuzzFeed, and I wanted to make this show, but I didn't know the right time to pitch it or to make it or to do it. And it was, the idea worth it. 3 foods, 3 price points, which one's the most worth it? It's expensive, right? It costs money. And the budget for our videos was very small at the time. Okay. So finally, there was a big meeting, and I got put into this team called the development team. And we got to make different shows, to try different concepts. Ryan Vergara was on that team, Shane Bidet, my other co-founder of WHUS was on this team, the Try Guys, Quinta Brunson was on this team, a lot of really cool, Eugene Lee Yang was on this team. Really cool people were on this team. And there's also executives on this team. And the executive said, hey, pick up your best ideas and come pitch them at this meeting next week. And I've been holding onto this idea for so long. And a little background on myself. I do not consider myself a quote-unquote foodie. I actually have the palate of a raccoon, maybe worse. I will eat anything and think it tastes good. I love McDonald's. I love Arby's. I know that's probably controversial. I love anything. I'll literally eat anything. But the reason I started making food content was because I was trying to find a way to Trojan horse culture into something that would be more popular. And food just happened to be a great vehicle for that. Anyway, so Worthy comes along, and I wanted to cast myself in the show to be the host of it because I wanted so dearly to talk about my Asian American heritage, my culture, through the vehicle of food. idea. There's like all these people in this room. The executives are in the front, they're listening, and then I finish my pitch. And the first thing that the head of development says is, I don't know. This doesn't seem like a great idea. What if you did this? What if you did this? And then all of a sudden, the room became this brainstorm session of what could make this show better. Okay, so it's like naturally it's building toward this one moment, and then there's this moment that I will never ever forget. But one of the other development execs said, "Hey, I know what will fix this problem. Let's take you, Steven, out of the show, and let's replace you with people who we know will get views. Because BuzzFeed was all about the views. You know, we wanted to perform. Who's going to be box office? And so she suggested that we put Keith Harrisberger and Zach Kornfeld as hosts of this show. I know. And by the way, I love those boys, okay? I love the three triads. I'm not sorry. I was going to say I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry for that comment. Well, I was not cleaning the dish. Anyway, Keith and Zach, who are wonderful people. Keith was my mentor, and Zach was kind of my life coach at BuzzFeed. But I was so frustrated because it felt like they wanted to take away my perspective, my unique perspective, and put it in with these, what is the way to say this? The right way to say this without being offensive. White guys, for sure. They're definitely white guys. Yeah, we'll stick with that one, white guys. And nothing against white guys, but they've had their time in the sun with food media, right? You got Bourdain, you got that guy with the hair, Guy Fieri. You got literally so many white men hosting food shows, and like I couldn't at the time name an Asian person. You know, you got maybe Chang later on and Roy Choi later on, but that was after this time. And the thing that saddens me the most about that story is that the person who suggested this was actually also Asian American. And again, this person, I don't think ever had anything against me. She was actually my friend. But it's small things like that here and there in this life that we live where your gut tells you something is happening and you gotta fight it. You gotta resist it. And for me, at this moment of time, I knew that this was not my intention of this show. My intention of the show was to create a vehicle to share stories and culture with the world. And I'm proud to say that WHUS has become that as we've gotten travel to hundreds of restaurants, feature hundreds of small businesses, and feature their food. But yeah, I think she was just looking out for her job. You know, it wasn't like she was racist in any way. She just thought this was going to be, in her head, the right choice. Diversity wasn't important, it was more about getting views. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'm glad to say that when the first video came out, what happened, before I get to that, what ends up happening in this story is, I said to the room, okay, I'm not going to make the show. We're not doing it. And then actually, when I said that, everyone was like, oh, are you sure? It's okay. You know, we'll figure it out. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. I was pretty upset. I'll be honest. I was pretty upset. And what I did was I tabled the idea, and then 4 months later, I actually saved up my own money to make the video myself. So the budget for the show came out of my own pocket. And I was like, hey, I asked my boss, hey, like, can I just like do this idea that I've had doing for a bit? You know, I have some free time in my job. I did all my work. Can I do this? He's like, why not? Sure. So I'm grateful that he let me do that. And I compromised with BuzzFeed. You know, Zach and Keith, I just kept Keith. So I kept one of them, and we made the video. And I'm like so proud to say that when that video came out, it did better than any Try Guy video I've ever done before. So. probably think, wow, he does not love him. That's not true. I do love that boy. But yeah, it's been a journey making the show, and you know, there's literally hundreds of moments like this where I've realized something was off, and I used to never trust my gut. But the beauty of growing up in life is you start to develop a really good gut and instinct for these kinds of things. And you guys are growing up in this age of information where there's also fake news and AI and all this stuff going out there. You have to develop a really good gut to distinguish good from bad and right from wrong and real from fake. And also, situations like this where you can also be a voice. Like, I really wish somebody in that room, anybody, had spoken up for me, right? It couldn't have, even if it wasn't the executives, but like, and I don't want to call out people who are in the room, but people could have said something. And everybody's voice has power when they speak up. Yeah, so I'm very proud of this. Next slide, please. Watch it. Okay. So this is where I feel like I'm in this very vulnerable place because I left BuzzFeed. I never made one of those why I left BuzzFeed videos. I don't think I will. Maybe one day. But I got to actually do this other thing. And it sounds like some of you have heard of Watch It before, some of you may not have. But basically, 4 years ago, I left BuzzFeed to start a company with my friends Ryan and Shane to do our own thing. And all the lessons that I learned growing up within the walls of BuzzFeed, I wanted to apply to my own company. I wanted to own my own content. And I wanted to do things my own way. And truthfully for me, the reason why I haven't made a why I left BuzzFeed video is because there's nothing like I left, What am I supposed to say? It was a great experience. Next thing. And, but I've always wanted to make this media company to represent myself and other people and other voices. And I think we're slowly getting to a point where we can finally start to do that. But it's been 4 years. It's been 4 years, and it's been a really slow process. As somebody who's used to the instant gratification of a worth it video getting 30 million views, it was a very challenging switch. And I think some of you guys are going to experience this in your lives as well when you're peaking in life, and then after that, what's next? And I'm here to tell you that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I can attest to that because of Watch It. Go to the next slide. I get to do it with these beautiful people who are my... Have you guys heard of Unsolved before, or Ghost Files? Yeah! Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Not as good as my stuff. No, but they're my emotional support and physical support, and just support in every kind of way. But one thing I will say is that I wouldn't have been able to do it without them because of the community that we've created. It's really hard to get through life alone, and something I realized being an Asian kid in Ohio and not having other people around me that were like me, and even now, as I've grown older, hard to create a company and do new projects all by yourself. So it's important to find people who can help you around that. So yeah, there's my story. Thank you for sitting through and listening to me. I have nothing against BuzzFeed. I love them. I love my friends there. Adam and Andrew still work there. So and I'm and they're the best people in the world. But yeah, I personally feel like I'm ready for new things. And if there's one thing I want to encourage to you all, it's to first of all speak up for each other. Because and by the way, sorry, I was about to close, but I have this tangent. Oftentimes, you may feel like your voice doesn't matter, and oftentimes you may feel like, oh, I can't speak up for this other community because I don't represent them. That's not true. In fact, your voice can be even more meaningful. Because sometimes when I'm preaching to people about Asian American issues, I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse. I'm preaching to the choir. But when I have friends who are not Asian, who are sharing articles about ways that they can donate to so much more meaningful. And so it is also about the cross-cultural and cross-ethnic support that we can provide each other. And so, yeah, I would say as we're celebrating Asians and Asian Americans here today, I would implore, especially the non-Asians in the room, to look out for us in our community. That's it. Thank you.
So I think.
Okay.
Alright.
So we are going to move into a moderated Q&A, and then we're just gonna ask you a few questions.
Awesome.
With it.
Just check. Is our mic still on?
Is this on? Oh, this one's on, yes.
Hello?
Is that
Hello?
Is mine on?
Hi.
I can hear hers. Not hear yours. I cannot hear his one.
Hello?
We can also share this mic if
Yeah,
Um,
share mics,
we need to.
please.
Am I? Oh.
I'm gonna start off with a
You
question,
start?
Okay.
and we'll pass it back and forth. So when you started at BuzzFeed, the field of internet video and YouTube videos was something that was still kind of building, and it was up and coming. So how did you know that that genre of video was something, worth spending your time on?
Yeah, and I didn't cover this in my story earlier because I wanted to share it here. But when I first started making videos at BuzzFeed, I was making content about Asians and Asian American experiences. And to be honest, those videos did not do well. I think I made this video where like Asian parents had the sex talk with their kids, which was like a very BuzzFeed title. I had videos where people were sharing their experience growing up Asian American, didn't do that well. And I realized something clicked in me where I was being too preachy with my content. I was trying to listen to me talk about my life, like therapy or something. And I realized that wasn't palatable for people. And what was palatable was finding other ways to bring it up. I think 20-year-old me will look at me now and say, wow, Steve, you sold out because you're making food videos and you're not actually going back to your roots about why you're doing this. But now I have the perspective and knowledge to know that, food content actually can be a way to bring even more people into the conversation. And because of that show, I get to literally sit in front of you guys and talk about this, which is my favorite part of the job, getting to be face-to-face with you all. So, did I know this would do well? I think so. But it was a lot of iterating and figuring it out and realizing that everybody eats and everybody has to pay for their food. So, yes.
So, I remember you saying like you were sort of trying to Trojan horse culture into Worth It, and really, honestly, I sort of felt that without even you saying it. And I remember the steak episode where you were talking about the first steak with the steak and fried rice, and that particularly resonated with me because my mom's fried rice is also something that I love more than anything in the world. I was wondering if you have ever seen anything more quintessentially Asian American than that steak and fried rice.
I'm glad you called that video out. That's one of my favorite videos because also in the car afterward, I get to call my mom. And I call my mom and her voice, so she's Malaysian. And if you know any Malaysian or Singaporean people, the accent is very distinct. I don't want to even try to do it because I'm not very good at doing it. But and people are like, oh, where is he from? And then there's this whole conversation in the comments about Malaysia and Malaysian food, and that was beautiful for me. What was the question again? Quintessential Asian. Have you guys seen the show Beef yet?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but that is my favorite show right now of the past 5 years. It is truly an Asian American experience. And it's done so well. It's done, again, not being preachy about what it means to be Asian American, but it's a human story that anybody can connect to. But it features all the different, cultures. There's like Koreans from Koreatown in LA, but there's also Koreans from the Orange County, and there's like different types of Koreans, and then there's like Vietnamese and the Japanese people, and it's like just like the diaspora, is that how you pronounce that word? Diaspora of Asian Americans, diaspora. Inside that story is like, it's just so refreshing, and I'm like honestly shocked that that show exists now, because I can't even imagine 5 years ago that that existed. Like Crazy Rich Asians, when did that come out? That was like 2016 or something, I don't know, 17? Like, that's less than 6 years ago? Yeah, never mind. So, Beef, watch Beef, it's good, it's on Netflix. Not sponsored.
Thank you for the red. So I wanted to ask.
Oh, are you?
No, I think it's working.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was going to ask. You've already been talking about it, but your Asian American identity. How's that kind of shaped your experience in the media industry, and then being kind of a role model for people like us who grew up watching YouTube as well?
Yeah. I thought about this a lot, because when I was in Ohio, I had to represent all Asian people. I felt like I had to, and so I felt like, oh, I can't be good at math because I don't want to be like reinforcing the stereotype that Asians are good at math, but I was good at math. So there's a lot of pressure for a 13-year-old kid. And one thing I realized, the more I've made content, the more I've been able to just like represent myself, is that all I can really do in life is be myself. It's all I can really do. And all the pressure that I put on myself to represent my culture, honestly, I have put that aside, because it's not fair to put that on one individual. In fact, what should be happening is that many individuals from many different backgrounds from one culture can share their own story, which can then create the greater Asian American story. And so all that I can do is be Stephen Lim, the food show host of Worth It. And hopefully that can be one piece of the story of our narrative in this country.
Do I have another question? Steve. So you said you graduated with a degree in chemical engineering. I mean, how did that switch from chemical engineering to the media industry happen?
Mention the dots there. Chemical engineering to media. So one of the reasons why I became an engineer, and for the engineers out there, is because they tell you that if you're an engineer, you can do any job. Because it teaches you how to problem solve. Which is like a BS reason just to get people into the door, honestly, in my opinion. But I believe that, and so because I know how to problem solve, I problem solve my way into knowing how to make videos. And one thing that I found is like a lot of people get intimidated by people who are really good at making films, and this applies to different fields. But for example, Ryan Bergara, my friend, he's a Chapman alum, which is a really prestigious film school. Graduated with like a 4.0 or something stupid. He'll brag about it if you ask him. And honestly, he knows his way around the set. He can light a set, he can direct, he can act, he can literally do it all. And it's intimidating to be around somebody like that when I have zero experience in film school. But one thing I realized is that because I didn't go to film school, I can provide my own unique perspective to making my own story and doing things my own way, which I think has been beneficial to kind of break into the norm of how we think about and do things in the film industry. And this applies to anything. I think if you want to take a leap into one direction and you have enough love and care for it, you can figure it out. It's enough education out there online for you.
I would also ask like to ask a follow-up question. Oh, did you want to ask a follow-up?
I had a follow-up question.
Okay, you ask your follow-up question.
So, I'm sort of in the same boat where I originally came here to study physics. I'm just now trying to get the hell out of here with something in media. And so I was wondering if like you've noticed a trend with sort of the people you hire at Watch or maybe some of the interns where maybe the stuff that they're doing at Walker is not necessarily the stuff they do in college. It's like a hobby that they're slowly turning into a career.
Yes, absolutely. A
I'm not a physics major.
Oh, sorry, not anymore.
No.
Okay. But I do think that, yeah, I think just the nature of how things are, like you see people pop off, and they're not even, they have nothing to do with film. So yeah, we're in a world where you can truly do anything.
I was just gonna ask, well, we have some seniors, a lot of seniors here actually, and we are coming up on graduation season. So I was just going to ask for some advice, getting out into the world and finding a job, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, I have some advice for non-seniors first. Because seniors are just too late for you guys. And this doesn't apply to everybody either. Only applies to people like me who are kind of like studied a lot and got good grades. I would say study a little bit less. That's my advice. I graduated with a GPA of 3.9, and nobody's ever asked me that question. I have to volunteer that information. and I brag about it in places like this because I get to. But none of you actually care about that information. But what people do care about is the experiences that I had when I was in college. And I didn't have many because I was studying a lot. And I honestly look back and wish I had spent more time cultivating a personality in college. You know, like figuring out who I was, right? Like, and you do that by just doing new things, trying new stuff. College, in many regards, can be seen as a scam. I don't believe it is because not only are you getting an education for your schoolwork, but also it's creating an environment for you to meet and be have so many resources available to you and peers available to you, and it's such a unique and beautiful time. That's my way to say it's not a scam. But yeah, so if you're in college and you're not graduating this year, I would say try to do things. Okay, for seniors, who it's too late for you to do that, don't stress too much, is my advice. I think we all put so much pressure on ourselves after college to know the next step. And it's because people keep asking you, you're a senior? Oh, what are you gonna do? Like what job do you have lined up? It's like an assumption that you've already figured it out. And like you're 21 years old, you don't know. Like many of you don't have no idea where you're gonna be in 10 years. If you had asked me that question when I was a senior, I definitely wouldn't think I would be here, and I definitely wouldn't think I'd be making videos. So my advice is when you graduate, be easy on yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take things one step at a time, because you will get to the path that is destined for you. And I truly believe that we all have, as cheesy as it is, a destiny of what our lives are amounting to. So, yeah.
That's actually nice to hear as a senior. Okay, so it's 7:03. So we are going to have some closing statements, and then we're going to have some time afterwards, probably about 15 minutes, for a very quick, brief meet and greet with delegates.
Cool.
So I would like to call Chris Afan up here to give us some closing statements on behalf of ASAC, who helped organize the event.
Let's go over there.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Oh, this one.
Nice.
Alright, hello, my name is Usman Reach, or what EM is, and on behalf of the Asian American Cultural Center, we would like to thank Stephen Lynn for coming, as well as USG, UCTV, and WHUS Radio for allowing this to happen. In a world where I and many others cannot eat a meal without watching a YouTube video, Stephen Lynn's work has been integral to Asian American representation in the fast-paced industry that is YouTube. Lynn's work has never failed to bring light to issues within the community, with videos like Asian Parents React to I Love You, which showcases the problem with intimacy in Asian American families. With this show Worth It amassing over 1 billion views, Lynn has given millions a reference point of excellence on a platform meant for billions. I would like to mention that in April, we observed Asian American Heritage Month, which usually happens in May, but as we will end the semester before then, we at the Asian American Cultural Center have planned many events for the UConn community to enjoy. We still have a few more events, so please do check out our Instagram at UConn_ASI. Info will be all in our link tree. Again, thank you for coming here, and we hope you enjoy your time with us.
Sorry. And I want to, again, thank all the organizations for bringing me out here. It is such a joy for me. I'll be here afterward. You can come and say hi. I just want to encourage you all because I am a millennial, so maybe I'm kind of corny and stuff, and I don't understand Gen Z at all, so I'm going to try to. But what I do hear from some of our Gen Z, like even our interns, is kind of a nihilistic point of view that, like, you know, things are kind of in a bad place in the world. But I don't really prescribe to that personally, and I just want to send you guys off with encouragement that, you know, life is going to be messy, and that's okay. Life has been messy. All we can do is treat each other right and learn from our past mistakes. And so, yeah, I'm honestly, like, encouraged to see this group of people, like, full of people who are down to, like, hang out and, like, listen to me talk about representation. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, this is the dream for me to be able to do that. So, thank you. And, yeah, I really appreciate it, but I'll be around afterwards, so thank you.
Just one more thing, the event officially ends at 7:30, so we ask to be respectful of students' time, but you guys can come up, you know, say hi, and we'll move into a meeting room.